what we're doing today, we have two judicial candidates in the studio because it's so important to know these folks who want to rule the courtroom. And if you're like me, 10 years ago, before I started really looking into and researching the judges, you don't know who they are. You're looking at a bunch of names. If you haven't been in the court system or directly dealing with them, how do you know who to vote for? Well, the wonderful Stevie Wonder wants you to know who some of the candidates are. We're going to try and get all of them in the studio for you. Some of them are non-responsive, but we'll do our best to get them in and give them equal time. So we're starting off now with Miss Georgia Huerta, and I like to say Miss Georgia straight out of Compton Huerta because she's a deputy district attorney out of the Compton Superior Court system. She has been a DA there for a good amount of time. One of her major endorsements is from the LA Democratic Party, and another one is another Democratic Party, the New Frontier Democratic Party. She's been endorsed by, and if anybody is familiar with the New Frontier Democratic Party, a lot of great folks there. We actually laid a very special person to rest in January of this year, Miss Bobby Jean Anderson. And I get chills just saying her name because this is an election that we won't have her valuable voice. Miss Bobby Jean Anderson passed away at the end of last year, and she had a wonderful homegoing in January of this year, a well-attended program, a moving service for a wonderful woman, someone who's had a hand in so many elections, who's been so helpful, who's been a godmother to many, and a friend to many, and we'll miss her deeply. And it just seems so strange that we won't get her voice. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Miss Bobby Jean Anderson and the wonderful work that she did. You earned your wings there. You earned your wings. So let's start out. Miss Huerta, can you tell the wonderful listeners here why, I'm going to give you a softball question, why the folks should elect you for judge for seat 135 against Stephen Yee Mack?
Well, I want to say good morning. Thank you so very much for having me on this morning. I am the candidate for the community. You know, I grew up here in South Central Los Angeles. And in growing up in South Central Los Angeles, it was the struggles that I witnessed within my community that caused me to want to be an attorney. Didn't want to run away from my community. I wanted to help my community. And I felt the best way to do that was to become an attorney, and now I am ready to be a judge. I am a public servant, and I think it's very important for a candidate, any candidate, to see themselves as a public servant for their community because that is what they are. I have extensive experience here in this community, here in LA County as a deputy district attorney for over 30 years. And yes, I am straight out of Compton in the sense that I've spent over half of my career working in Compton in one respect or another, either as a courtroom prosecutor, as an individual that's responsible for filing cases. I've been a calendar deputy, managing cases, dealing with the public. So I know many of the issues that face our community, and I understand and realize that you need someone on the bench who has a connection, some empathy, and will put the community first. And that's exactly what I will do.
Okay, and you have I'm trying to make sure that I give you an opportunity to let us know about the Huerta. Where does the Huerta come from? Because you present as a black female.
Well,
yes?
I am a black female.
There you go.
So that is true. The Huerta comes from my husband. He is Latin, so that's my married name. Okay. So that's where it comes from. I've had it for many, many years, and I'm still pronouncing it incorrectly sometimes when he looks at me, but that's what it is.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Now, you've been in Compton, you said, for how many?
At least 15, 16 years over different periods of time. When I first started as a deputy district attorney, I was in Compton back in the late 80s, early 90s, where I tried cases, really serious cases. I have 80 trials. I love Compton. I love the judicial bench there. They understand the community. They have a heart for the community. And that's where I learned what it really is to be a public servant, how important it is for the community when they come into a courtroom. Even though I'm a prosecutor, I'm still part of that community, and they identify with me. And I realize I have an awesome responsibility to administer justice, to make sure the community comes first, to treat the victims and the accused with respect. That is utmost important. So,
okay, and as a prosecutor, you work for DA George Gascon, correct?
Currently, yes, now.
What do you mean, yes, now?
Well, when I first started, it was Ira Reiner.
Oh, okay. Oh. Okay.
So, they come up for re-election.
Yes, I do.
And so I worked on Ira Reiner, Gil Garcetti, Stephen Cooley, Jackie Lacey, and currently right now, Gaston.
Okay. Now, a couple of years ago, there was a DA, and I'm going to ask your opponent, Stephen Yee, as well. You weren't part of the ones that did a vote of no confidence in George Gascon, were you?
No, I was not.
Okay. And have you worked with Judge Emily Spear?
I've not worked with her in the capacity as a judge. I knew her when she was a deputy district attorney. Her office was right down the hall from my office at the Compton Courthouse.
Okay, and for the listeners, if you were listening in on some of the podcasts before the primary, Judge Emily Spear was challenged by public defender Kim Rapeka and unseated in that was pretty historical in itself for seat 120 for a public defender to challenge a sitting judge. That's pretty huge. So that's why I asked you about Judge Emily Spear.
Right. The challenge is not huge. The winning was what was huge.
That part, right? Were you surprised?
Yes, I was, because sometimes it's very difficult to challenge a sitting judge. And as I stated, I didn't work with Judge Spear when she was on the bench. I just knew her when she was a deputy district attorney. So Kim Rapeka did an outstanding job in campaigning. I met her several times on the campaign trail. She worked very hard. She's very serious and passionate about what she did, and the public voted for her. And that's why we have a democracy.
Exactly. Now, you can get a seat on the bench both by appointment and election. Have you applied to be appointed as well?
I have.
It's a long process.
It's a long process. The application is still pending. And so I have taken this opportunity to go to the voters, to be on the ballot, to make myself visible to the communities that I want to serve. And I am hopeful and prayerful that they will vote for me.
I like that, hopeful and prayerful.
Yeah.
So how do you distinguish yourself from your opponent, Stephen Yee Mack?
Well, I don't know very much about Mr. Mack. I'd never met him before. He was on the campaign trail. So I really can't do that, but I can tell you about me. I can tell you that, as I've told you, I've been with the district attorney's office this period of time. And also during that time, I had an opportunity to do different types of things. I've had the opportunity to file cases. When law enforcement brings cases to the district attorney's office, I've worked in the charge evaluation unit where I get to review those cases. Some of them, not all of them.
Excuse me for interrupting, can you break down when you say, I know what you mean, can you break down the charging unit? Tell the listeners what that entails.
Well, the way a case starts is a police officer arrests someone. They prepare a report and they bring it to the district attorney's office to make the determination whether or not that case can be filed. Really, the district attorney's office, the charging unit, is the gateway to the criminal justice system. So as a deputy district attorney in the charging unit, it's my responsibility to review those cases submitted by the police department, whichever one it may be, and make the determination whether or not, one, the person that they say committed the crime actually committed the crime, and two, whether or not at that particular point in time that all the elements that are required to prove that charge can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt based on what they present. So it's a very serious process. You know that old saying, garbage in, garbage out?
Yeah.
Good things in, good things out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do, have done. And currently that is the current position that I'm holding. So I get an opportunity over the years to have reviewed thousands of cases. And that's prepared me sitting on the bench, having to hear different types of issues, regardless of what those issues are, and be